Imagine. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today, aha. Imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions, I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. John Lennon, Imagine. Welcome to Gen 1 Rev 22 Ministries on Saturday the 18th of April 2020, and today we're going to be looking at the song written by John Lennon called Imagine. What I'm going to do first off is read from Wikipedia to give you a background of the song, when it was written and so on. The Wikipedia page is John Lennon's Imagine, and Imagine is a song by English rock musician John Lennon from his 1971 album of the same name. The best-selling single of his solo career, its lyrics encourage the listener to imagine a world of peace without the barriers of borders or the divisions of religion and nationality, and to consider the possibility that the whole of humanity would live unattached to material possessions. Shortly before his death, Lennon said that much of the song lyrics and content came from his wife Yoko Ono, and in 2017 she received a co-writing credit with him. BMI named Imagine one of the 100 most performed songs of the 20th century. In 1999 it was ranked number 30 on the RIAA's list of the 365 songs of the century. Earned a Grammy Hall of Fame award and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. A 2002 UK survey conducted by the Guinness World Records British Hit Singles Book named it the second best single of all time, while Rolling Stones ranked it number 3 in their 2004 list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. Since 2005, event organisers have played the song just before the New Year's Times Square Ball drops in New York City. By 2013, Imagine had sold over 1.6 million copies in the UK. More than 200 artists have performed or covered the song, including Madonna, Stevie Wonder, Joan Baez, Lady Gaga, Elton John and Diana Ross. After Imagine was featured at the 2012 Summer Olympics, the song re-entered the UK Top 40, reaching number 18 in March 2020. In response to the unfolding coronavirus crisis, the actress Gal Gadot posted an informal but star-studded cover version of Imagine on Instagram. The song remains controversial as it has been since its release over its request to imagine no religion too. So we've looked at the Wikipedia concerning the song Imagine, and what I'm going to do is just give you a quick definition of the word imagine from the Cambridge Dictionary. Imagine, it's a verb, and it's to form or have a mental picture or idea of something. A couple of examples: imagine Robert Redford when he was young, that's what John looks like. Imagine that you're eating ice cream, try to feel how cold it is. Can you imagine how it feels to be blind? She imagined herself sitting in her favourite chair back home. They hadn't expect that, it would be so difficult. I can't imagine, I really don't know what he wants from us. Also, it's imagine is to create a concept in the mind. This is when people are creating storybooks and and so on. They use their imagination and they're creating this concept, and then they describe it and write about it or sing about it or make lyrics. So we're going to be looking at the word imagine now in the sense of it's being used to shape a future of something which is not being presently witnessed, and possibly to deny a truth or truths. You could even take that into denial, maybe. So that's a basic idea of what the word imagination means. So with what are we going to be comparing John Lennon's song with, Imagine, and with what are we going to be comparing those lyrics with? Well, I'm going to be comparing what John Lennon sang about and imagined for a future world, and it's going to be comparing it against what the Bible says, and we're also going to be asking the question, is this Imagine song designed and written in order to deny the truth and the revelation of God to his creation through his word? So I'm going to look at the first verse of John Lennon's song, and he says, imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try, no hell below us, above us only sky, imagine all the people living for today, aha. So the two arguably concepts we're going to be looking at there are heaven and hell. This is what John Lennon is trying to get us to imagine, that there is no hell, or sorry, there is no heaven, there is no hell. But when we compare those two imaginative concepts that John Lennon is trying to get us to imagine, and when we compare those to what does the Bible say concerning heaven and hell, we have a different picture, because those lyrics really do need to get us to imagine there is no heaven and hell, because Jesus Christ said there is a heaven and there is a hell. So the first one we're going to look at is, I'm not going to be doing an absolute in-depth look at heaven and hell. It's just a brief to show that we would indeed have to imagine there is no heaven and hell. Like I say, this is what John Lennon is, these lyrics are trying to get us to do, imagine. And that will be breaking away from the truth that Jesus Christ has declared, that there is a heaven and there is a hell. Now, Jesus Christ in the Gospel of John was talking to his disciples, and he was telling them that, you know, the time's close whereby he's going to have to be going to his death. Obviously they were upset about this, and they were down with concerning this. So Jesus Christ wanted to encourage them, and in John chapter 14 verses 1 to 3 we read, Jesus Christ, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. So Jesus Christ is speaking of heaven. He is speaking of the place where Jesus Christ is going to go once he has rose from the dead. And he's telling his disciples, at the right time, when everything's been fulfilled, I'm going to come back and take you to be where I am. So Jesus Christ is doing a clear declaration. There is a heaven. There is a place called heaven. We also read, if we go to Revelation 21, 1-7, we read of what heaven is like, what the new heavens and the new earth, which Jesus Christ is speaking to his disciples concerning the place. He's going to prepare this place, and then he's going to come back and take his believers to be with him in this new heaven and new earth. So in Revelation 21, 1-7 we read, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, and I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountains of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. The original creation was heaven. We read in Genesis chapter 1 where God created the heavens and the earth and the universe and everything it contains. And when we read through that creation account, we read that at the end of each day God said it was good. At the end of the 6 days and that creation week, God said, and everything that he made was very good. There was no sickness, there was no death. Man was created by God to live forever in perfect union with God, walking with God. That's heaven. God has said there is a heaven, but man turned away from God. The same as in these lyrics. Imagine there's no heaven. This is a denial of what God has created and what God has said there is. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. Well, it's okay imagining it and going into a fantasy land of it's not real, but it's real. Originally, God created the heavens and the earth was perfect. There was no curse upon the earth until Adam and Eve fell. And then man became separated from God. Earth was no longer the heavenly place God wanted it to be. God designed it to be. Man chose to go his own way. But we read that God is going to put all this right. There's going to be a future heaven whereby man lives alongside God and God alongside man in a relationship. And we read there that Jesus Christ is going to prepare the place for those that follow him. And he's going to come back. And then we read of when he comes back and the future heaven, which has been put back to its new original way it was supposed to be, where man walks with God, is described there. There's no more crying, no more pain, no more death, no more sickness for those that are in Jesus Christ. So we read the Bible and Jesus Christ clearly spoke there is a heaven. Totally contradicting what John Lennon's song and his lyrics are claiming. So we also read in that verse, imagine there's no hell. So does the Bible speak of a hell? So let's look at what Jesus Christ said concerning hell. We've looked at what Jesus Christ said concerning heaven. So we're going to look at what Jesus Christ said concerning hell. If we go to Luke chapter 16 verses 19, Jesus Christ is speaking again to the Pharisees, and he speaks to them concerning a rich man and a poor man. And here we have Jesus Christ clearly speaking about hell being a place. It's a place people go to, and he describes what it's like, and he describes a huge divide between heaven and hell from which no one can cross. Once you've made your pitch, I'm going to follow Jesus Christ, or I'm not going to follow Jesus Christ, and once you've breathed your last, it's too late. You can't cross that divide. Jesus Christ says it here. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water, and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now is he comforted, and thou art tormented. And beside all this, between us and you there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from heaven to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. Then he said, I pray thee therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Abraham saith unto him, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. And he said, Nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. And he said unto him, If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead. That's chapter 31. So Jesus Christ is talking about the rich man and Lazarus in a very real place where hell is a place of torment from which there's no escape. The only escape is in Jesus Christ. So what happens to those, and when do those who do not follow Jesus Christ, what is the final place for them? Well, we read in the book of Revelation. So we go to the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 20. Now this is a future event whereby it's in the same context whereby when Jesus Christ comes back and sets up the new heaven and the new earth. And here we have the description of what will happen to those whose names are not written in the book of life. In order to get your name written in the book of life, you have to accept Jesus Christ's works on the cross, his death and his resurrection. He took our place and our punishment upon himself when he was beaten, he was scourged, and the nails were placed in his feet and his hands, and he was the propitiation. He was our punishment, because we've all disobeyed God's laws, we've all sinned against God. And here we read what will happen to those who reject him. And what will happen is, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. This is chapter 20 verse 10. And the devil that deceiveth them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So we read there's going to be a great white throne judgment, and all those that have rejected Jesus Christ will be, along with Satan, thrown into the lake of fire, because their names are not written in the book of life. Once you've accepted Jesus Christ, your Lord and Saviour, your name automatically goes into the book of life. You won't be at that great white throne judgment if you're a believer. It's for those who are not following Jesus Christ, and for Satan and his angels and everybody that followed him. And this judgment is to judge people's works. You're not going to be there to get saved. You're going to be there for your judgment, for your works to be judged. God is going to say to you, all the stuff that you've done in your life, because we're all sinners, we've all done things wrong, is going to be placed on you. You are going to face the wrath of God at that time. But those who follow Jesus Christ are not, because God, Jesus Christ, took it upon himself 2,000 years ago. He's taken my punishment because I've accepted what he did for me. He did it for me. I'm not going to be thrown into the lake of burning sulphur in hell, separated from God. You know, this is the time of grace. It's a time whereby those that don't know God through Jesus Christ are his enemies, but he's still feeding his enemies. He's still letting the sun shine on his enemies. But there'll come a time where you're going to be totally separated from God, and that's going to be hell. Jesus Christ spoke of hell, separation from God. And I've just given you those examples. There are many more. And this is what this is denying in this first verse. So now we're going to be looking at the second verse. Imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. This is another denial of what God has ordained. God has ordained the nations. God has given us the nations. We read in Acts chapter 17, verse 26. And he hath made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on all the face of the earth, and hath determined the times before appointed, and the bounds of their habitation. So we clearly read we're all of one blood. But God has created the nations. If we go back to the book of Genesis, read about the Tower of Babel, where God sent the people from the Tower of Babel around the world, and the nations came from those. Before then, there was a one world government that man was trying to set up. If we go to Genesis chapter 11, we read of the one world government that back then they were trying to set up. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to one another, "Go to let us make brick and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, "Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men buildeth. And the Lord said, "Behold, the people are one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they hath imagined to do." Imagined. Are we seeing this? John Lennon's Imagine, creating their own one world government, their own system. But God has ordained there's a heaven and a hell. So, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel. We've all heard of Babel. You know, you talk to people and you know, that guy babbling, stop babbling, Babel. That's where they all originally spoke one language. And then when God came down and confounded them because of what they were doing, trying to build a one world government, he confounded all the languages, that single language, and they couldn't understand each other. So they were sent upon the world, away from Babel. So God confounded the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the whole earth. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old. And then we go on to looking at the generations, and this is where the nations were created. In Acts 17:26, what we've read before. So we have the imagination that there's no countries, like they tried to do in Babel. And God said, no. We're all one blood, but I make the nations. Now it says, imagine all the people living life in peace. Come on, let's get real. You know, is man capable on his own of living in peace? We see this right throughout human history, ever since Cain and Abel. We see what happened. You know, the first murder happened between Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel because Cain tried to go about doing things in his own works and so on. And that's the same with man. Man wants to do it in his own way. He doesn't listen to God. These lyrics, imagine doing it our way, not God's way. In the 3rd verse it says, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. There we go again. World as one, like at Babel. Genesis chapter 11. They wanted a one world government, and this is what this song is all about. Denial of God's creation. Denial of God's ordained ways. Denial of God and His plan for us, replacing God's plan with man's plan. Imagine no possessions. You know, God gives us possessions. You know, we have possessions. You know, saying to people, you know, it's good that we have our own possessions. God made laws for people to have their possessions for a reason. But this is a one world government which is going to be tyrannical. You're not going to be allowed possessions. You're not going to be able to own your own property. God gave people places to live, their own places to live. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. We already live in the world. We already share the world. We don't need a one world government. God has given us the world. We don't need a man-made one world government to tell us we're now sharing the world, because we know what happens with man. He's not capable of sharing the world. We can feed the world multiple times over. I think it's 3 or 4 times over. There's enough food there. But man is not capable on the track. And this song is telling us to look towards man. We've looked towards man for the past 6,000 years. He's failed. He's in a fallen condition. He's failed. We read in verse 4. Imagine, yeah, we've gone through that. So we read in the final verse, verse 5. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. I'll go back to Genesis chapter 11. Man is not capable of living as one in peace and harmony, as this song says. This song is all about replacing God's laws, God's plan, with man's laws and man's plan. Just like God reached down and destroyed man's previous attempts at a one world government, God in the future is going to look down and destroy man's attempts at a one world government, which is what we're seeing coming about in the world today, and it's coming in the very near future. Revelation chapter 12 verses 9, we read here, the whole world is being deceived and led astray by Satan, by the fallen angel Lucifer, who's called the great dragon. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So we read there, the whole world is led astray, and this is what happened again with the Tower of Babel. Led astray. And this is what's going to happen in the future. The world is going to try to set its own one world government, and God is, like I've said, God is going to reach down and destroy it. We read in 2 Thessalonians 2 about a future man of sin who's going to come, who's going to be a world leader. And we read, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let until he taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him who is coming is after the workings of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. The truth is Jesus Christ. And for this cause God shall send them a strong delusion, that they shall believe a lie. Believe a lie. That they might all be damned, who believe not the truth, Jesus Christ, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So, I've demonstrated that the lyrics from Imagine are just imagination. And they're in denial of God's created order, trying to put man on the throne, trying to make man God. So there's only one escape, and that is through Jesus Christ. That if you confess with your mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. You will be saved. For everyone has sinned and falls short of the standard of God. There's not one that hasn't sinned. And Jesus Christ is the propitiation. He took our place for our sin and our disobedience to God. And we need to look to Jesus Christ to get right with God. Forget John Lennon. Forget his lyrics. They're man-made. Man follows after Satan, who has led them astray. Jesus Christ took your place in death on that piece of wood. Took your punishment upon him. So, the Dalek. Obey the Daleks. Obey or be destroyed. I shall play them again for you.
We'll obey the Daleks. Obey, obey.
You will obey the Daleks. Obey, obey. You will obey the one world government. You will obey Satan, who leads the whole world astray. Don't obey Satan, who leads the whole world astray. Don't obey the Dalek, the big Dalek, Satan. Obey Jesus Christ. Gen 1 Rev 22 Ministries.